So I'm glad to be able to kind of do these events for you folks. And it's information I think all of us that are here working for the department wish we would have known when we applied. So hopefully this gives you some good insight. We definitely want you to ask questions as we go along tonight. We're going to do a little presentation first, which we think will answer the bulk of the questions, but then we will kick it to you guys. If there's something specific that we may have missed or you want to reiterate something or clarify, this is your chance to ask those questions. So I will let Andrew introduce himself as well.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you guys have lots of questions. I know some of you guys have sent in and submitted questions prior to. Like Colleen stated earlier, most of those questions should be answered throughout our presentation. But if there's something that you really want to get answered, we have the chat available, and also you can ask that towards the end. But we can go ahead and go on with our presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna share screen. Somebody give me a thumbs up. You can see some things. Yes, awesome. All right, Andrew, whenever you're ready.
So first, I'd like to just go over a lot of the requirements that we have for becoming a game warden. This has been such a passion of myself, growing up in the outdoors, being involved in everything wildlife, whether hunting, fishing, or trapping, has been one of the greatest passions. And so being a game warden to me has been one of the most rewarding careers that I've had thus far in my life. It is the most fulfilling job that I've ever had, and being able to do that alongside people and folks that are just as passionate for everything that we do in the wild, in the outdoors, is what I'm here to attract you to. This position is specifically for the game warden recruit position. There's a wealth of progression in this agency, in our field ops division. But we'll go to this next slide, and a lot of which what we do is most people tell you that we just enforce the laws. Yes, that is a big part of what we do. Mostly 90% of our job is law enforcement based, and we wear full gun belts and everything that you see as a normal officer would. However, just our atmosphere and where we conduct our business is in the outdoors. Some of the duties include educating the public, whether you're teaching somebody how to fish, hunt, trap, or anything in between, and some of those just various tasks. We're involved in wildlife captures from time to time. It is a percentage of our responsibilities. Pronghorn captures, elk captures and releases, and things of that nature. We investigate wildlife damage and crop damage and property. That can be from bears, trying to break into your house to get the goodies that they smell in on the back porch, things of that nature, or even ungulate species, elk and deer, antelope that are depredating crops around your area. So go to the next slide, if you will. So as you see here, this is one of our captains that was on a release out at the L-Bar, a recent property that we had purchased in the past year. There hasn't been antelope in this area, and that's something that we as game wardens can be part of, something that has been taken away for so many generations, protecting the wildlife, the communities, and everything around it. Next slide. So Officer Rivera here once quoted, as you can see, wildlife doesn't have a voice or someone to protect them. That's why I, Officer Rivera, became a game warden. Doing those things that are above and beyond and out of the normal realm of what traditional law enforcement does. This officer, part of the southwest part of the area of the state, actually is involved in some of these aerial surveys from time to time. That might be something that you're involved with. Doesn't mean that you have to do it. It's just something that is offered to you as an opportunity to grow and see different aspects of the actual job and the position that we have. Next slide. So the next thing, what we're going into is the type of person that we're attracting to this position. The profession demands a strong personal commitment and a person who is self-motivated. We often work in rural areas, and it takes that extra spark and that inkling inside you to do everything within your power to do all the tasks that we are often involved in. We do work 40 hours a week, irregular hours, night patrols, early mornings, and in the middle of the days when it may or may not be hot or cold, working weekends, holidays, but it's often flexible enough that you can accommodate some of your family time to catch a kid's game in the middle of the day. You might start your shift early and later, all of which you can accumulate that 40 hours in that normal work week. And rain, wind, or shine, that's when we're working. So as New Mexico often presents with, it could be raining 1 second, sun shining on this side, and blowing snow all in less than 5 minutes. We do all of that wearing our standard law enforcement equipment, firearms, body armor, handcuffs, radio, etc. So no 2 days are the same. You can be doing fish captures and population surveys. You can be rescuing fawns that may be in distress, or relocating them, or even removing them from human impact areas near parks or residential areas. So it's one of the things about our job that is so unique, where a municipal officer or a sheriff's deputy may be kind of stuck in a general area. Our task may be helping out and assisting those the general public deal with whatever that is, doing surveys and responding to calls all within a single day. So it is one of the coolest things and the best perk to our job. You don't get stuck in that mundane, I must, patrol this certain area and do certain things from time to time. It flexes, and it's your years and your supervisor's way of drafting what works and what matters most in that district. And you could just, what am I going to do? They pick a spot on the map, take a left, and just keep going and patrol for hours and hours and getting paid for it. So next there. So what does it take? Some of the minimum qualifications that we have just recently changed. If some of you guys have been following our website and or been in contact with me or anybody else within the department, our educational requirements recently changed now from what it was previously changed to and historical past. So we require a bachelor's degree from an accredited college that's in any field, with at least 12 credit hours that are pertinent to and essential to the duties and responsibilities of the position. Great more, and we'll get into this here in a few more slides, but the recruits must pass several different hurdles, and it's kind of a progressive hiring, and we'll go over that a little bit more here in the next couple slides. Let's go to the next one, please. So some of the skills that we're looking for, you have to dig deep and kind of self-analyze who you are as a person and what you have to offer. As anything, we have to have a positive attitude. We're talking to folks in a law enforcement capacity that may have been something traumatic to them, whether you're dealing with a nuisance animal that is maybe injured or killed some sort of livestock species. We have to be able to keep our composure and maintain that self-awareness at all times. But the love and the thrill for the job that we have is what speaks volume when we communicate and talk to hunters, anglers, and trappers out in the world, and also just general citizens who may or may not know nothing about what we do. And so it's our responsibility to educate those folks and tell them what we are and who we are about, not just as an officer and what we do on our day-to-day responsibilities, but who we are as an agency in conserving wildlife for future generations. So we must have an interest in wildlife conservation. That is what we do. We are enforcing all the rules and regulations and statutes that we have in the state to protect all wildlife species, amphibians, fish, mammals, and big game, etc. I mean, you name it, we oftentimes have some sort of responsibility tied to it. as I alluded to earlier, you have to be able to be self-motivated and work independently. There's tasks and responsibilities and duties that you're not accustomed to, or you may or may not have actually done or experienced in your life. As you can see in the picture with the elk here, being able to put a catch pole around an elk, or even dart this stick, jab stick this elk with chemical agents that are going to immobilize this elk so that we can do whatever we need to do based on the circumstances. You have to be service minded to help others. As a public official, you're sworn and take an oath to serve and protect our communities, whether you're stationed in the middle of Albuquerque or you're in some rural location in some part of the state. In this particular picture, teaching a first-time hunter how to properly tag a Barbary sheep is something that is very beneficial and has a lasting impact on that sportsman as well as the officer moving forward in their career and their life. You have to be willing to learn new skills. You don't know everything. Even myself, coming in as a brand new recruit several years ago, I didn't know everything. I thought I knew a lot, and I even worked with game wardens throughout the state, and it was mind-blowing when I came to the agency and learned so many different things that I thought I knew and truly didn't know anything about. It's one of the most rewarding things that you can just learn something that you've always wanted to, be paid to do it, and now you get to utilize those cool skills that you recently learned on certain training. So very, very cool. Comfortable working in extreme conditions. Right now I'm stationed in Roswell. It's absolutely hotter than heck out here. And wearing all the full vests, yes, it wears on you at times, but it's some of the most the coolest things ever, being able to escape this type of climate and head up to the mountains where you'll be, faced with putting your truck in 4-wheel drive and navigating 2-track, forest roads, looking for houndsmen and things of that nature. Nothing cooler than drinking a hot cup of coffee with the windows rolled down, smelling fresh air, all the pines, and just being the first person to cut tracks out there. So strength working in teams, we are an elite group, a band of brothers, so to speak, and sisters that as a law enforcement culture, we have to be there for one another. Physical and mental toughness, that is a big one. And it all kind of ties, all of these attributes all tie into that cookie cutter best person. Yes, everybody's different and possess different skill sets and abilities, but the well-rounded folks are going to have that physical and mental toughness. You have to be able to get out of your truck, patrol several hours, get out of your truck, hike up the hill, investigate maybe 3 or 4 trips up and down the hill because you forgot your drug box down at the truck or whatnot. And having that mindset, that warrior mindset, to ensure that you're going home, to see your family at the end of the day, and that you are going to win everything that you come in contact with. That's one of the things that separates a lot of folks, because backup may be several, an hour or 2 away, sometimes almost dang near non-existent at times, it feels like, as an officer in those atmospheres. But you're out in the middle of nowhere, where places where people aren't often found, and you're looking for those poachers and trying to find and dig deep and exhausting those avenues to go a step above what anybody else is going to do. That's what separates them. And having that mental and physical toughness, ability to work in those extreme conditions by yourself for the greater good, something above you, is what we're looking for. Go ahead. So all of that in mind, think of this as your office. There's people that pay thousands of dollars to experience and see something that no one in their lifetime may or may not even see or do. A dream of mine was going elk hunting in the middle of a wilderness, packing a bull elk out, horseback. That is something that is extremely, I've always wanted to do that. And just, that's what I think of Western big game hunting. when I see that, and being able to be an officer, strap a gun on, wear a badge, and now you're out there patrolling in those rural areas. That's the best thing. Exploring new things, experiences that you're going to come up with, and becoming your own leader. It's just, it's awesome. So, I mean, look at that view. The view is just amazing on that. So you guys are probably wondering, you know, how much does all this cost? I'm talking about getting paid to do this, right? So you as officers, as recruits, during your first year of an employment, and I say first year, it's more realistically looking like 7 to 9 months, depending on your prior experience and that you have to offer and bring to the table. $22.28 an hour, 46 annually. And that's just within that first year. That doesn't account for any of the accumulated potential comp time and or overtime, depending on budget constraints that we have. You may or may not get up to at least 250 hours of overtime during that 7 to 9 month time frame, or as a recruit. But who can say they get a promotion when less than 1 year? Complete everything, the academy and the things we're going to go over here in a few slides, and you'll get an automatic $10,000 pay increase up to $56,000 annually. With that, there comes potential for promotional opportunities. Your first year hire as a recruit, all the way up to the next promotional step, which is a corporal, you're eligible to do that at 3 years. Your first year is considered your recruit year, which does account for it. But so you're eligible at 2.5 basically years once you're on district and you've been assigned to your own location. Next in line, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, and colonel, all of which are attainable in time. But with promotions comes different opportunities, different locations. You may have to move around the state to get yourself more involved in those marketable places. So as the saying goes, and every 4 to 7 years, be looking for that next step in your progression, whether promoting and or new opportunities, so you don't get stuck in a box or a grind, and now you're looking for other things. The benefits of this, it is a state job, and you do have what we call total compensation benefit package that includes medical insurance, the para, which is our retirement plan. As a state employee, you're eligible to retire after 25 years of service, and with your highest 3 consecutive years of salary. With that comes paid vacation, annual leave, sick leave, holidays, and even qualified members for your family also get covered under this benefits, whether you're married or you have a significant other that you provide benefits to. All of those forms are provided to you during your new employee orientation. So the state has some of the best retirements. We also had deferred comp, which is another program offered through the state of New Mexico. So it's almost like a secondary 401k, and you can get that. It's really, really good, and it's extremely beneficial, especially in the later years of your life, towards that retirement, buying back years of service, etc.
I will reiterate that real quick. I know probably a lot of you are, maybe you're in college or job hunting or maybe even high school, like you're probably not even worried about benefits and retirement, but I promise you, like, this is worth the job itself, because New Mexico has probably one of the state or the best state retirement plans than any other state in New Mexico. So strongly encourage you to check into those, and we're going to kind of show you where to find some of those resources too. But I just want to reiterate, like, we have phenomenal benefits. So
thank you for that. Yep. So you're wondering probably what your first year is like, right? That 7 to 9 month or first year time frame. Upon selection, and you're that person that we select, you're going to attend a New Mexico police officer certification. Currently, we send our recruits to NMJC, New Mexico Junior College, which is located in Hobbs, New Mexico, and that is a 17-week police academy. We can go over some of that stuff later. If you have questions about that, feel free to reach out after the fact. After you complete that, as you guys might see in the timeline that we'll show here after a while, there's several internal training requirements that we send all of our recruits through, and they must satisfactorily pass or attend all these classes in order for them to be promoted. Some of which is the Wilderness Patrol and Horse Packing school that we offer. This particular area that we've often been going the past few years has been to the Gila Wilderness down in Gila Hot Springs area, teaching everything from, horsemanship, care, tact, and how to even ride and pack an animal. So even if you have zero experience or never been exposed to, animals like this, and especially in a patrol type of environment, we give you all of the foundational skills to succeed if that's something that is available, so that when that opportunity, whether you're in a wilderness district or not, allows you to have the skill set to succeed. With that and having stock, there comes other additional benefits, horse hire opportunities, and additional things like that. But that's more specific, and we can touch base on that stuff here after a while, or if somebody has any questions. Wildlife restraint, capture, and immobilization, dealing with nuisance wildlife. You will be certified in all of this stuff and how to properly dose what we call our drugs to immobilize and capture nuisance animals relocated, and even up to euthanasia, how to properly do that. And off-highway vehicle use, teaching you how to operate a ATV as well as a side-by-side. That is a law enforcement Department of Public Safety accredited training that we put our recruits through. You also get trained in wildlife laws and crime scene investigations. Most of that is done at our recruit school, and you'll see some of those sections in the timeline later on. So that's everything from collecting, documenting, identifying potential wildlife crimes or violations, and being able to collect those stuff, because unlike most municipalities or PDs, we do not have a crime scene unit that goes out and processes the scenes. You are what you are. You're the investigating officer, and you are the person that documents and collects all of that stuff, even up to prosecution as an officer, and seeing that case through disposition. We train you how to shoot firearms, pistol, rifle, and shotgun. It's a 10-day series with all 3 different platforms. And what better thing to do than to get paid by a department to go shoot a bunch of guns all day long. So we get you proficient in that. And not only that's just our foundation stuff, you also go through firearms again in the actual police academy. Patrol tactics via boat. As you guys know, we check fishermen depending on the location. There's 10 lakes in the state that has a patrol vessel assigned to that particular district. So if that happens to be a district that you are promoted to and are stationed, you get a boat, and we'll teach you how to operate that boat safely, conduct vessel and safety checks, as well as pulling up on boats and potentially arresting and or pursuing suspect vessels. Like I stated earlier with the picture of Officer Rivera, aerial survey tactics may be an opportunity where you can learn and do that. This particular picture capturing and collaring elk is something that you may be trained to do. So you may be wondering, hopefully, how do I apply? There's a couple different ways that we can apply online. Everything, we don't take paper applications. Everything's done electronically. You can go to our website, careers and enforcement page. We have hyperlinks that are embedded inside the actual web page. It'll click and direct you directly to the actual job posting through the state personnel office. You have to have an account created in order to apply. If you don't have one, it's pretty simple and easy to create it. It's just like any other personal account. The only difference is work experience and or a resume is required. There's additional things that you'll need to attach and build as you build your profile. Once your profile is built, you can apply for any state job including promotional opportunities within our department. And that basic foundation information that for the account you created will still be there, and you could just amend and or update as time progresses. If you want to go to the state personnel website, this is the other option that you can do. If we exit the screen sharing there. So
I always love Zoom mute buttons. Let's finish the next slide, and then we'll go on and show them all the different links and how to navigate the different pages.
Perfect. So we hire twice a year. For the past few years, we've hired in spring and fall. As you see right now, we're advertising, and we'll close the advertisement on the 30th of this month. So only about 3 more weeks, 3.5 weeks left in order for you to apply. So if this is something you want to do, scan that QR code, it'll go directly to our page, and we can get you on the list. I'll be pulling applicant lists every Friday and sending out information and emails to those that at least meet the minimum requirements and qualifications for the position. So you can contact us, my information, you can email that link that's there on your screen. My contact information, phone number, and direct email address is on the website. So the QR code, or even accessing it through our department website, you can get a hold of me anytime. There's a HR representative, our director, Rebecca Archuleta, who's on the contact list for the advertisement as well. If you have something human resources or college-based questions, you can reach out and contact us or them directly.
So this is our website where our CURS and enforcement information lives. So if you went to wildlife.state.nm.us, or you just Googled New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, if you hover over the enforcement section and careers and enforcement, it's going to take you to this landing page. And this is where primarily where all of the information lives. Kind of gives a hiring timeline, which I know Andrew kind of wanted to touch on, which we already did on some of the trainings. We'll talk a little bit about the interview process too, because that's a lot of dates that are piled up together. His contact information is here in red. We put it nice and bright so you guys can find it. What's also on here, and Andrew, maybe you can hit now on the physical fitness standards as part of the interview process.
So as you've seen above, if you just scroll up, Colleen, you can see how our hiring timeline. I'll just go over the bits and pieces of that right now. September 1st, we open this. October 30th, it closes. If you meet the minimum qualifications educationally, you're automatically invited to the next phase of the interview process, which is the invitation to test, which is the physical pre-assessment. An email will include, RSVPing, specifics on how to respond and or submit pre-employment background information packets and how to do so. But on November 11th, those that meet the educational requirements will automatically get invited to this pre-assessment. The pre-assessment includes all this testing, and we'll go over some of the other dates here after a while, but is in Albuquerque. So if you go to the PT standards, please. On this day, all applicants are required to pass the physical pre-assessment standards. These are set by the New Mexico Law Enforcement Board, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different, 4 different exercises basically. First in the order that we administer these tests is the 1.5 miles. It is out in Albuquerque below 6,000 feet. So the time frame that you have to complete that is 15 minutes, 14 seconds. Immediately after that, and in between each exercise, then we go into a 10-minute break. Then we go into a 300-meter the run, which is in 71 seconds. That's more of an anaerobic exercise, more of a sprint. Then we go into inside the building. We conduct push-ups, which is 27 reps, and I'm sorry, 15 reps, and then we move into sit-ups, which is 27. Upon successful completion of these, it is a pass-fail. So if you missed the sit-up, say for instance, and you passed everything else, it does not matter. If you fail one of them, you're automatically disqualified from the hiring process and prevented from moving forward in any of the additional steps in that process. So, I mean, we have 3.5 weeks for folks that may or may not be preparing for this or have seen this up until now to get in shape and do this. How do you do that? Go physically test yourself. 10-minute break in between. All the information is provided here on how each exercise is conducted and the breaks in between. Test yourself. It's immediately one after another so that you can set a baseline on your physical fitness standards. After that, you can start working towards other goals. If you hit 25 sit-ups, then you need to start working on core workouts and additional things. There's other resources available, none of which that we provide as part of the department. These are just the standards that we test you on. So you may need to join a gym, hire a personal trainer, get with somebody who works out in fitness, CrossFit, etc. Some of those things that you might be able to increase your odds of success moving forward. For those folks that immediately pass this physical pre-assessment, we move on to the next section, which is a wildlife written exam. We do grade it. The passing is 70 or above. And if you click on that, Colleen, and show, there is a sample test that is provided here on the website. This sample test just goes over the general makeup or layout and the types of questions that we will offer to you. There's some resources embedded in here as hyperlinks, and you can reference those things. Multiple choice questions, true and false, nomenclature, protected species, cartridges, etc., and wildlife identification, and also scenario-based questions. That's the general format of how we administer this. 100 questions, and it is a standard that we administer 70% or greater passes. Once we finish that, you go on to the next day, which is November 12th, and you'll see here on the screen, which is a pre-employment background investigation. Whenever I give you the invitation to test, you have specific a packet that you have to complete thoroughly and specific timelines in when you need to submit those, and those need to be done by that date. Failure to respond and submit those on time will automatically disqualify you from the actual hiring process. So if you fail to do that on the front end prior to pre-assessments, your application will be purged from the system for failure to comply with our set deadlines. You'll go into a background investigation that day, go over that packet page by page in a formal setting with our investigators. The next day, for those moving forward in that next step of the process, as you guys are seeing, it is progressive hiring. Successfully passed the prior task or event, then you move forward in the next step of the process. So formal interviews, I have slated 3 days, depending on the amount of applicants that we have apply. And after the formal interviews, a series of maybe 5 to 8 questions. I usually have 30 to 45 minutes to complete an oral interview. The oral interview consists of you coming into a conference room and you sit in front of fellow officers and or the panel, so to speak, and answer those questions accordingly. Follow up at the end. Upon completion of that, then we move forward into psychological examination, followed by the medical. Psychologicals is everything here is that entire week is in Albuquerque. The medicals is a extremely thorough physical or doctor visit. You go over hearing, urine tests, blood work, testing heart rate, things of that nature. So pretty in-depth and thorough.
Andrew, can we hit on that real quick? Because that was one of the questions that we did receive,
Okay.
was about alcohol and marijuana use, and now that, you know, some of that's legal in New Mexico, how does that apply to people applying for jobs working in law enforcement and working for the state? Can you clarify that?
Absolutely. So we have internally determined that marijuana use, because it is still a federally banned controlled substance, and you are planning to apply for a law enforcement position, internally we decided and determined that automatic disqualifier for marijuana use is, let me check here, 60 days prior to application. If there's any hard drug, methamphetamine, cocaine, etc., those hard drugs 3 years prior to application. If any of that use is determined during your pre-employment background, and you could be honest about it, and we're going to be disqualified automatically from that process. You have to be on a straight and narrow, regardless of certain standards that may or may not be allowable in the state of New Mexico, fortunately.
Okay, do you mind, for the sake of time, if we kind of jump through the SPO website, just so I can show some folks where things are? And then we want to be able to leave some time for folks that have questions. We've already had some flowing through the chat, mostly related to the degree requirements, what types of degrees are preferred, and then even what type of those 12 credit hour classes apply to be considered eligible. And could somebody send you a copy of their transcripts to review first before applying to ensure that they meet those 12 credit criteria?
So absolutely. It isn't any field. Obviously, a preference would be criminal justice and or a natural resource based major or field of expertise from that college, only because it's going to give you that firsthand knowledge of what we're actually enforcing. So if you don't hunt, fish, or trap on the criminology and criminal justice side, and you don't hunt, fish, or trap, like I said, those that biological background is what kind of separates acceptable or standard recruits into the ones that excel, because they've been that much more proficient at, and landscapes, wildlife identification, etc., that just makes the job as an officer and what you're actually enforcing based on your experiences that much more marketable as an applicant. Now the credit hours that are towards that can be criminal justice, natural resource based, but we do have several responsibilities and duties on our website that are kind of listed. If you have something that's questionable, you can always send us your transcripts prior to, and we can look at them and get the blessing, so to speak, on whether that would qualify you as an applicant prior to. So this is state personnel website. We'll actually add this in the chat link as a website. You can navigate this by clicking careers website right in the middle there as a quick link. Once this page pulls up, you can filter our department, and we currently have 7 positions posted on our website.
So it'll be over here on the left-hand side. If you can see our screen, you can filter by agency. And my advice to you guys on this too is do this on a computer and not on your phone, because it could be a little bit harder to navigate on the phone just based on the layout. So you're going to find agency, and then you're going to click more until you find Department of Game and Fish, which is right here. You just click that and it filters just the game and fish positions. You can see all the positions that we currently have open. We did have some folks ask also if there is positions that they can apply for and get their foot in the door with the department before they apply to be a recruit. And there is, some of them only require high school diploma or years of experience that substitute the degree, but our game and fish warden recruit is not one of those positions. So you would have to look at any of the maybe tech positions, maybe admin assistants. I would recommend that you go and check this website at least every couple of weeks, because new positions get posted on here frequently and they close frequently. So you can see on the right hand side here the close dates of some of those positions. And if we click on the game and fish warden recruit, it opens it up for the full posting details that we recommend you guys go and read and review. And then that way, when you're doing your application, you're using some of the keywords that are in this application to apply. you will need to create an account through state personnel website. So up here on the top says apply for job. Are you a new user? Register now if you've never applied for a job with the state before. If you have, recover your login information. You can upload your cover letter, your transcripts, your resume, any required documents that are asked of the position and of the applicant. So you can upload those there, but make sure that you're submitting everything correctly, because it goes through State of New Mexico HR basically before it comes to us. So if you missed something, you didn't attach something correctly, you missed a box, because you didn't complete the application correctly, you will be kicked out of the applicant pool and you'll have to wait until the next year to apply. And we don't want to miss out on you if you're a high quality candidate. So just make sure to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. Earlier, we talked about the benefits, which you can click down here. It says, do you know what total compensation is? You can click that, or by going back to the state personnel website, under compensation and classification, there's information there on benefits. There's somewhere else. Where am I missing it, Andrew? Resources.
Yep.
Will be other information there too. So make sure to check those and read those before applying. Let's maybe touch on some things that folks can do right now before they're ready to apply, or if they're ready to apply right now, what kind of things they can do to stand out as a candidate. But also, if you're not going to be eligible to apply for a year or whatever while you're working on your degree. Also, I dropped this in the chat and I hope some folks saw it, but we can hire if you're in your very last semester. As long as we have a letter from the registrar's office stating that you are on track to graduate, you can apply this semester if you're graduating in December. So that's an option for you too, but we want to be able to give you some of the things that we would recommend doing in order to stand out as a quality candidate. So Andrew, you want to hit on that?
Yep. So one thing I think somebody commented in the chat as well, how many positions? Right now we have up to 7 positions currently available. That doesn't account for any potential retires and backfield positions. So within a year and a half from now, we have up to 12 to 16 positions. And like I said, we are hiring this fall and again spring 2024. So yeah, what do you need to do to stand out in the pre? So I alluded to that it is a law enforcement position. I've had numerous conversations with folks that were more on the biology side. Yeah, it has the biology aspect towards our position, but primarily it's law enforcement. You could see some of the biology jobs that are currently posted, and that's specific to it. But an opportunity, if you're on the fence or even 100% wanting to be a game warden, we have what we call a ride-along program. My contact information is on the website. Send me an email, request a ride-along form. That ride-along form is pretty quick and easy. Reading it, initial it, send it back to me for review and approval once it is notarized. Once you get that, I can send you a contact list of officers in your area or anywhere in the state where you would like to conduct a ride-along. I require most of our recruits or even potential applicants to actually do a minimum of 2 ride-alongs. One in an urban, larger city, preferably, to see, and then the other one's in a rural. The reason why I do that is because it gives you 2 different aspects of what a game warden is like. The job is exactly the same, but the percentages of tasks that we are often involved in those various locations are different. You might be doing more wildlife depredation or a lot more, say if you were in Las Cruces or Albuquerque versus in some rural location like Clayton, New Mexico, or Daddle, New Mexico, real smaller rural locations. You are the job is totally different, and the demands for that position require that much more. So yeah, you might be able to go down and get a steak from a big, nice place in town, but unfortunately the job life may or may not be a little bit different than what you thought. So 2 different aspects, same job, same position, 2 different versions.
And if you live out of state, you don't have to come to New Mexico to do a ride along with our officers. It would be great if you could, but take a ride along with a conservation officer or game warden in your state if you're not from here.
Yep, another alternative to that is even with a local sheriff's office or a municipality, law enforcement. Like I said, the job and percentage of tasks are different depending on your environment. Another good thing to do is become a volunteer for our department. I know that we talked about, potential avenues. Becoming a volunteer gets you involved in several different aspects, being involved in sort of the wildlife captures and relocations and things of that nature, or opportunities to do that, but also becoming an actual attending a hunter education course, A, as a student to give you that foundational knowledge from the get-go, and B, potentially teaching a hunter education course. You'll be required to do that as an officer and become certified to do such. But you want to be a standout candidate and be fully versed and well-rounded. That's an opportunity that you can do at any time between here and then. So those are some of those things that you need to start looking at and separate yourself.
The other big thing I would emphasize, which you talked about earlier, is making sure that you can pass the physical pre-assessments. That's probably somewhere where we see a lot of folks fail, and so we don't want that to happen to you. So come prepared to do those. So one of the questions was, how can you volunteer? Well, on our website, under, let's see, I still got screen share going, I think, under education, and let's click hunter education instructor. Kind of a little roadmap to get here. There is a become an instructor section, and you can email Storm Ussery. He will get you started on the application process to become a volunteer. And even though this says for hunter education, that's for all different aspects of the department. Maybe you just want to volunteer on fisheries work or wildlife work or habitat work or hunter education. You can clarify that in your application. So give him an email. And then if you do want to become a hunter's ed instructor, we do offer hunter ed instructor training workshops, which I will be hosting one likely in December, which hopefully by then you guys already have a job offer in hand, and that's going to be part of your training anyways. But if you are looking to apply a year or two from now, you're more than welcome to come and join us for our training. And that'll be listed here on the website as well.
I'll address Brian's comment question there. He reads, understand recruits assigned to duty station could be anywhere in the state based upon department needs, but are their preferences considered? So yes, it is based upon department need. However, we afford the recruits the opportunity to put in a wish list, and that's 1 through 3, and any justification, whether personally or professionally, to justify what is the position or location that you desire the most. We've hybridized that process, so to speak, and give I'm drawing a blank here, but a prioritized district list. And so we've identified as a department that the prioritized districts are a supervisory district that comprises of 2 or more vacancies, that within a particular recruit class, a singular recruit or whoever wants to go there will go there. And oftentimes we leave that up to your recruit class to kind of work out the, hey man, I really want to go here, you want to go there, then we suffice the requirement for this particular hiring or promotional placement. And sometimes those work out. If any of those aren't selected, then somebody will be assigned to that location. So it's a whole lot easier. And it has worked out in the past, 2 years, where all of the prioritized districts were selected by a recruit at their will by one, either choice 1 or 2. And it's very rare that we've had somebody be placed based on their 3rd choice. And we provide you all the vacancy lists. However, that prioritized list and the list that the recruits get is secondary to what is an internal lateral system. So say you were taken on, hired, and brought on, you're able to lateral before as an officer before the next recruit class is afforded the opportunity to be placed in a district. So sometimes what you may think right now will be open may not be in 6 to 9 months from now. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep. One of the other questions too is when the official hire date would start. And so I brought up the hiring timeline again. That's going to be January 8th.
Perfect. And that is in Roswell. So
right.
Recruits are stationed in Roswell during that time.
What, Andrew, what kind of advice would you have for the interview process? We talked a lot about criteria, you know, to be eligible for the job and education and training and that kind of thing, but it also comes down to the interview also. And it's honestly, everyone, it's kind of a personality test. It's a way for us to kind of see if you have some of those behavioral characteristics that we're looking for to make good officers and to make good coworkers. So, the interview process is always super nerve-wracking for people too. So don't get yourself all in a tizzy and worked up coming into the interview. We're just going to ask you a few questions and kind of gauge your experience and your answers throughout the interview. So what advice would you have for the interview?
First and foremost, walk in like you own the place. Breathe, relax. Yes, it's a nerve-wracking walk in, sitting in front of a panel of officers that you may or may not have seen in your life. It is an intimidating, environment. Sit down, gain your composure, read the question and answer it in its entirety. Reread it again after you give your response and thoroughly think about all of the elements within that question that you've answered. Don't sell yourself short on everything, and thoroughly use your background that is relevant to the question that you're asking. That's the advice that I would give you guys when preparing for an interview. Public speaking, that's what we do as officers. You must have the skills and abilities to talk your way through a lot of things. So being able to practice some of those skills, you can do mock interviews, you can do all these different things on your own. You could study, and there's a bunch of resources online that you can reference for successes on how to get through an oral interview. So.
One of the interesting questions that we got submitted from folks via email before the meeting was, what's the best way to know you'll pass the process? And my answer would be well, you don't. But all the stuff that we just talked about are the things that you can start doing to ensure that you're at least going to be a quality candidate. We only have so many positions that we're able to fill right now. So we would love to have a whole bunch of really, really qualified folks to do that. But, being confident, being respectful, being accountable, self-motivated, a good team player, like those are the kind of skills that we're looking for, because we can train you how to do law enforcement and how to do wildlife management and all that. We can train you on all of those things. We just want to know if you have some of those core values that we're looking for that we discussed earlier in the presentation. What would be your answer, Andrew?
No, absolutely. You hit it right on the head. All of those things that stand out, yeah, you may or may not be a model citizen, things happen in your past, but being able to be accountable for your actions and hold yourself to a higher standard as a law enforcement officer in that profession, that's what you have to do. So carrying and exhibiting those behavioral characteristics is what's most important in this line of work. If you don't have that, it's going to be extremely tough for you to navigate and succeed in some of those capacities. Yeah, you might know a lot of the biological background, but you have to have all that other stuff in order to succeed. Mm-hmm. Self-motivation, accountability, and eagerness to work on every single aspect and work hard and to the highest ability that you can each and every time whatever task is given to you.
I'm so glad that somebody just asked this, because I was just about to bring it up, but Eduardo's currently at Western New Mexico University, majoring in forest wildlife law enforcement. Well, I still need to attend the academy, and awesome. Yep. I'm so glad that you're in that program. And I wanted to talk about the different programs that are out there. Obviously, there's lots of schools in New Mexico that offer various degree programs, but UNM, New Mexico State, Western, and Eastern all offer fantastic natural resources related majors and degree fields, criminal justice, but Western's a little unique and different. You can major in wildlife law enforcement and go through their own police academy, which is essentially another semester of schooling essentially, but you're going to be able to apply with us already with that law enforcement academy certification. It is not required. Let me reemphasize this. It is not required that you go through the academy before you apply. It is a plus because we're able to send you out on field training with an officer much sooner. So you get a lot more one-on-one time with your mentored officer before getting assigned district. But if you haven't been through the academy, it's okay. We're going to send you. Andrew is actually a product of Western, so I should let him take the spotlight on that.
If depending on where you're at in your degree plan, you have the other option to do the practicum. If you're able to do that, obviously in another couple months, then I would do that route to get hired sooner. Otherwise, you just wait the extra semester and a half. If you're going to attend in January 2024, I would still apply in the next hiring. I could still hire on if selected. And a lot of that process is kind of streamlined. I've picked up a few Western grads in the past couple years, so pretty familiar with that. And obviously, I went to school there and got the same exact degree.
So we've got about 2 more minutes for questions. If anybody wants to chime in on the chat or on screen, one of the questions that did come through is the age limit, and it's just 21 years of age is the biggest limit. Is that correct?
Correct. Minimum 21. There is no max on cap age. Is it possible to do a lateral transfer then if you get the law enforcement certification with the bachelor's degree?
I have a quick question.
We're going to get this one answered real quick, Eduardo, and then we'll move on to you, okay? Just 1 second.
Sounds good.
So I'm kind of confused. Let's see, is it possible to do a lateral transfer then if you get the law enforcement certification? So I guess, Patricia, a couple different questions I have for follow-up is, once you're hired, the certification as a police officer is statewide. You can take that certification and go to other agencies. However, we obviously frown on that. If you are already a commissioned officer in a different agency, yes, you're able to lateral over and bring that certification with you. However, we do not have any kind of substitution or in lieu of service or credit or military service to cover the bachelor degree requirement. So a couple different ways of answering that. I'm not sure if I hit that on the head. If you do have something, feel free to clarify. What was the other question?
Hey, Eduardo, go for it.
Okay, so as Andrew mentioned, on practicum, I guess opportunity, I am given that opportunity at Western New Mexico. What do you guys advise me to do for my practicum? I should be doing my practicum in the summer of 24.
So if you're doing your practicum in summer of 24, you'll complete your bachelor's in that second summer session. Is that correct? If at that point, then yes, you're able to apply the next job posting or next hiring. If you do the law enforcement academy in January 24, you'll still be able to hire again or put in and apply next spring. It's up to you on whatever route you want to do. Either you're going to do the practicum or the actual academy. Either way, you're going to attend academy, whether you pay for that extra semester and a half, or you get hired on with the practicum, forest wildlife law enforcement version, and then we send you through the academy. Your choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our time for this evening. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much for participating and sitting through this for an hour of your night. If you missed part of it or you want to watch it again, we will be, like I said, we are recording this, and so we will be sharing it on our YouTube channel within the coming days, so you can keep an eye out for that. Go back and watch it. You can always reach out to Andrew or myself with any questions, and we would be happy to help you out anyway, and we look forward to seeing you apply and work with us. Any closing notes, Andrew?
None at this time. I think some people want my contact information. You can post that in the chat.
Okay. It is on the careers and enforcement page, so I will drop those again. Let's see. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for attending. That concludes our meeting tonight, and we look forward to meeting with you down the road or seeing you for interviews in November. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.